I am coming, baby.
Suspense. If someone had told me that the greatest threat to my family wouldn't come from a battlefield, but from inside my own home, I would have laughed. I've survived explosions, ambushes, and missions that were never supposed to be made public. I spent 20 years protecting strangers in places most people can't even pronounce. But nothing prepared me for the moment I looked at my phone and watched my own daughter begging for help while the people I trusted most smiled as they destroyed her life. By the time I reached home, everything had changed, and by the time the truth came out, no one involved would ever be the same again. My name is Ethan Carter. I'm 42 years old, a retired U.S. Army Special Operations colonel, and this is the darkest chapter of my life. People often believe soldiers leave the war behind when they come home. They're wrong. Sometimes the battlefield simply changes its address. After retiring from active combat, I accepted a consulting position with a private defense contractor. The work still required frequent travel, but it allowed me to spend more time with my family, or at least that's what I believed. My wife, Rebecca, always encouraged me to accept the assignments. There are only a few days, she would tell me with a warm smile, "Lily and I will be fine." I trusted her. After 12 years of marriage, why wouldn't I? Our daughter Lily was 8 years old. She was the brightest light in my life. She loved drawing horses, collecting stuffed animals, and asking endless questions about airplanes whenever I left on another trip. Every time I walked out the front door, she'd hug me tightly and whisper the same words. "Promise you'll come home." "I always will," I'd answer, and I meant it. 3 days before everything fell apart, I boarded a charter flight bound for Europe to oversee a security operation. It was supposed to be routine. No danger, no surprises. At least that's what I thought. Hours into the flight, while reviewing reports on my encrypted laptop, my personal phone vibrated. Normally I ignored personal notifications during work, but something made me stop. The screen displayed a motion alert from the security system at my home in Connecticut. PARS motion detected front driveway. At first I assumed it was a delivery driver, maybe a neighbor, maybe Lily chasing butterflies. I almost dismissed it. Then instinct whispered something was wrong. Military training teaches you to trust your instincts. Mine had saved my life more than once. I opened the live camera feed. For 1 second, everything looked normal. Then the camera adjusted its focus. My heart stopped. Lily was on the driveway. She was crying so hard she could barely breathe. Her small hands scraped across the concrete as she desperately tried to crawl backward. Standing over her was my mother-in-law, Diane. Her expression wasn't angry. It wasn't frustrated. It was cruel. She grabbed Lily by the arm and yanked her across the driveway. Lily screamed. Not the kind of scream children make when they fall off a bicycle.
This was terror. Daddy.
I froze. My entire body went numb. Then I saw someone standing a few feet away. Rebecca, my wife. She wasn't helping. But she wasn't calling for help. She was filming everything on her phone. And she was smiling. I stared at the screen, unable to understand what I was seeing. My mind searched desperately for another explanation. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe this was some terrible accident. But then Rebecca laughed. A cold, empty laugh I'd never heard before. 2 more women stepped into view. Rebecca's sisters. One carried a plastic container. The other held a garden hose. Lily tried to run. They surrounded her. I could hear every terrified sob through the security camera's microphone. "Daddy? Please." My hands began shaking. I had faced enemy fire without fear. But thousands of miles away, watching my daughter suffer, I had never felt so powerless. One of Rebecca's sisters twisted open the cap on the container. A strong liquid splashed across Lily's clothes. She screamed in agony. "My skin burns." Rebecca never moved. She kept recording, as if my daughter's pain was entertainment. Everything inside me snapped. I unbuckled my seatbelt so violently the metal slammed against the armrest. The passengers around me looked up in surprise as I hurried toward the cockpit, and the pilots immediately recognized the expression on my face. Something was terribly wrong. "I need this aircraft on the ground," I said. "Now." One pilot hesitated. "Colonel, we're still hours from. My daughter is being attacked." Silence filled the cockpit. Within seconds, emergency procedures began. The aircraft requested priority diversion to the nearest military airfield. As alarms sounded inside the cockpit, I returned to my seat and kept watching the live feed. Rebecca suddenly looked toward the front porch. Her smile disappeared. She had noticed the security camera. She realized someone was watching. She realized I was watching. She shouted something I couldn't hear. Everyone turned toward the camera. One of her sisters grabbed a metal tool and rushed toward it. "No," I whispered. The screen shook violently. If they destroyed the camera, I'd lose my only view of Lily. I immediately called the one man I trusted more than anyone outside the military. Garrett Hayes, former Special Operations, cybersecurity genius, friend for nearly 20 years. He answered on the first ring. "Ethan, I need your help." I didn't waste a second explaining. "My family is under attack." The line went silent. Then Garrett spoke with the calm voice I knew so well. "Send me access." Within seconds, I transferred emergency credentials to him. His fingers began flying across a keyboard somewhere thousands of miles away. "I'm inside your home network," he said. "They're trying to destroy the cameras. I know. I can lock every smart door in the house. Do it." And Ethan, "Yes." "Whatever you're seeing," his voice became unusually quiet. "I'm getting it too." For the next several seconds, neither of us spoke. We simply watched and prayed, because we both knew whatever happened next would change every one of our lives forever. Garrett didn't waste time asking questions. He had worked beside me for nearly 2 decades. He knew that if I sounded this calm, something catastrophic had happened. "I'm locking every exterior door," he said as keyboards clicked rapidly in the background. "I'm also activating every interior camera." My phone suddenly displayed 8 different video feeds. The living room, the hallway, the kitchen, the garage, the back patio, the basement entrance, the upstairs hallway, the front foyer. Every corner of my house appeared before me. Rebecca and her family rushed inside, dragging Lily behind them. My little girl stumbled across the hardwood floor, crying uncontrollably while desperately trying to pull away. "Please stop." Nobody listened. Diane shoved Lily so hard she fell against the wall. Rebecca calmly closed the curtains before turning toward the security camera in the hallway. For a brief second, she stared directly into the lens. It felt like she was staring straight into my soul. Then she smiled. Not the loving smile I had fallen in love with years ago. This one was cold, heartless. "Garrett," I whispered. "They know I'm watching. I know. Can you hear them?" "Working on it." A few seconds later, an audio came through the speakers. Rebecca's oldest sister laughed. "He'll never make it home in time." Diane answered with complete confidence. "Tom, by the time he lands, it'll already be over." My stomach tightened. Over. What exactly were they planning? Rebecca crouched beside Lily. Instead of comforting her, she brushed a strand of hair away from Lily's face almost gently. "You should have stayed quiet," she whispered. "You've made everything so much harder." Lily cried harder. "I didn't do anything." Rebecca stood up. "Not yet." Those 2 words chilled me more than anything else. Not yet. This wasn't random violence. It was planned. Every second of it. Garrett interrupted my thoughts. "Ethan, I found something." "What?" "Someone disabled 2 cameras this morning." "What?" "The system logs show they manually disconnected the garage camera and deleted part of the recording history. They knew where the blind spots were. They've been preparing this." I closed my eyes for a moment. military planning, reconnaissance, testing security, creating blind spots. Whoever designed this operation understood exactly how professionals think. Rebecca couldn't have done this alone. My phone buzzed again. Garrett had opened another file, hidden inside the home's server. It contained dozens of timestamps, door openings, camera failures, alarm bypass attempts. Everything dated back almost 3 months. 3 months. They hadn't simply snapped. They'd been rehearsing. Back inside the house, Rebecca grabbed Lily's arm again. "Take her downstairs." The sisters obeyed immediately. "No," Lily screamed. "I don't want to go." She fought with everything an 8-year-old had. But 4 adults were too strong. They dragged her toward the basement door. I stood up so suddenly that the passengers around me stared. Every instinct inside me screamed to break through the airplane walls and somehow reach my daughter. Instead, I did the only thing I could. I opened the home's intercom system. Garrett immediately understood. "It's Liv." I pressed the microphone. My voice echoed throughout the entire house. "Rebecca." Everything stopped. The women froze. Lily looked around in confusion. Rebecca's face turned white. "Ethan," she whispered. "I can see every single thing you're doing." Silence. "You touch my daughter one more time." I paused. "And every law enforcement agency within 50 miles will be at that house before you can explain yourself." Diane looked terrified. Rebecca didn't. Instead, she slowly smiled again. "You always think you're in control." She looked directly into the nearest camera. "Today."
Yeah, you're not.
She turned toward the basement. "Take her." The women continued downstairs. My heartbeat exploded.
Garrett, I'm trying to seal the basement door. Hurry! I'm locked out.
"What?" They changed administrator permissions. My blood ran cold. Someone had hacked my own security system. Only one emergency administrator remained. Me? I entered my encrypted military authentication code. Access granted. Override accepted. Basement security door locked. A loud metallic slam echoed through the speakers. Rebecca rushed back upstairs. She pulled violently on the basement handle. It wouldn't move. The reinforced security lock held. For the first time, she looked genuinely afraid. "What did you do?" One of her sisters shouted. Rebecca glared at the camera. "Ethan," I answered immediately. "I'm still here. You think you've won?" "No. I know I've stopped you." She laughed. It wasn't nervous. It wasn't desperate. It was confident. Too confident. Then she said something that made my entire body freeze. "You still don't know who you're fighting." Before I could respond, she ran toward the electrical panel near the garage. "Garrett, I see her." "Stop her." "I'm trying." Rebecca pulled the emergency main breaker. Every camera instantly went black. Every microphone went silent. Every connection disappeared. No picture. No sound. Nothing. I stared at the blank screen. Thousands of miles away. Unable to see. Unable to hear. Unable to protect my daughter. The silence inside the aircraft became unbearable. Then Garrett's voice returned. Ethan, tell me. The police are responding. Good. But there's something strange." "What?" "They didn't call for help. They called someone else first." "Who?" "I don't know. The number is encrypted." Another burner phone. Another mystery. This wasn't simply a family betrayal anymore. Someone outside my home was involved. Someone organized. Someone careful. Someone who had planned every step. As the aircraft descended toward the nearest military airfield, I looked out the window into the darkness below. For the first time in my military career, I wasn't preparing to rescue hostages from an enemy. I was preparing to discover that the greatest enemy I had ever faced had been living under my own roof all along. The moment the aircraft's wheels slammed onto the runway, I was already standing. Before the engines had fully powered down, I grabbed my bag and sprinted toward the exit. A black armored SUV waited beside the hangar. Garrett stood next to it, holding an encrypted tablet under one arm. His expression told me everything. things had gotten worse. I climbed into the passenger seat, and before the door was completely shut, Garrett floored the accelerator. The tires screamed across the pavement as we sped toward the interstate. "What happened?" I demanded. Garrett kept his eyes on the road. The police arrived about 15 minutes after the power went out. And Lily, they found her alive. My shoulders relaxed for exactly 1 second. Then Garrett continued. But Rebecca told them a completely different story. I stared at him. "What story?" "She claims Lily attacked everyone inside the house." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "That's impossible." "I know." Garrett handed me the tablet. On the screen was a police body camera recording that had just been uploaded to the emergency database. Rebecca sat on the front porch wrapped in a blanket. Her hair was messy. Her face was streaked with tears. Scratches covered both of her arms. She looked terrified. If I hadn't known the truth, I might have believed her. My daughter became violent. Rebecca sobbed to the officers. She poured chemicals on herself. And then she attacked all of us. One officer nodded sympathetically. Another carefully wrote notes. Meanwhile, Diane and Rebecca's sisters repeated the exact same version of events. Every sentence matched perfectly, almost as if they had memorized a script. But Garrett paused the video. "Notice anything? They never contradict each other. Exactly. Every timeline matches. Every word. This wasn't panic. It was rehearsal." I clenched my fists. Rebecca hadn't only betrayed me. She had prepared for this, months in advance. Garrett switched to another screen. "I recovered deleted files from your home's backup server." The display showed security logs. Someone had repeatedly tested camera blind spots, door locks, alarm delays, power interruptions. Dates stretched back over 12 weeks. "They practiced," I whispered. Garrett nodded. "They were planning the perfect crime." An alert interrupted us. Lieutenant Daniel Harris wanted to speak with me immediately upon arrival. 25 minutes later, we pulled into my neighborhood. Police vehicles surrounded my house. Yellow crime scene tape fluttered in the evening wind. Neighbors stood quietly behind barricades. Everyone stared as I stepped out of the SUV. Some recognized me. Others simply watched in silence. Lieutenant Harris approached. His expression had changed since the body camera footage. This time he looked uncertain. "Colonel Carter, where's my daughter?" "She's inside the ambulance." I started toward it. He blocked my path. "Before you see her, I need to hear your side." "My side?" "Your wife claims you've been emotionally unstable since returning from overseas." I almost laughed. Rebecca wasn't just attacking my reputation. She was attacking my career. My medical records are available. I pass military psychological evaluations every year. I've never failed one. Harris nodded slowly. "I figured, but there's another problem." "What?" "They're requesting emergency custody." My heart stopped. "Tonight, they're claiming Lily isn't safe with you." Everything suddenly made sense. This had never been about hurting Lily. That was only the beginning. Someone wanted to remove me from her life completely. I looked directly at Harris. "You've seen the body camera statements?" "Yes." "Do they seem rehearsed?" He hesitated. "Honestly, yes," before he could continue. Garrett walked toward us carrying the encrypted tablet. "I think you should see something." He connected the device to the portable command monitor inside the police vehicle. The screen came alive. Cloud backup. Front driveway. Timestamp. Every second of the attack had been automatically uploaded before the power failed. Nobody spoke. The video played from beginning to end. Rebecca smiling. Diane dragging Lily. The chemical being poured over my daughter. Lily begging for help. My voice through the home's speaker system. Rebecca rushing to shut off the electricity. When the recording ended, silence covered the entire command vehicle. Lieutenant Harris slowly removed his cap. "I've been a police officer for 23 years. I've seen terrible things, but I've never seen a mother He couldn't finish the sentence. Neither could I. Another detective entered the vehicle carrying an evidence bag. "Lieutenant, we found these." Inside were 4 smartphones recovered from Rebecca and her sisters. The detective continued. "They all tried deleting messages before officers arrived." Garrett smiled slightly. Too late. He connected one phone to his forensic software. Within seconds, deleted conversations began reappearing. Dozens, then hundreds. One group chat caught my attention. Its title was chilling. "Pi Second Chance." Cuz Garrett opened it. The messages filled the screen. Every sentence made my stomach turn. They discussed Lily, my work schedule, the trust fund left by my late parents, court procedures, psychological evaluations, medical records, everything. One message from Diane read, "If Lily is declared mentally unstable, Rebecca controls everything until she's 18. As another replied, "Ethan will never see it coming." My breathing became slower, colder, more controlled, the same way it always did before a military operation. This wasn't rage anymore. This was focus. Whoever created this plan understood the legal system remarkably well. Too well. Then Garrett noticed something else. Wait. He zoomed into one deleted conversation. Rebecca wasn't only messaging her family. She was communicating with someone saved only as a director. No name, no photograph, no phone number. Just one word. Director. Every message disappeared automatically after being read, except one. The final message remained because the phone had briefly lost its internet connection before deleting it. Rebecca wrote, "He's watching the cameras." The reply came only seconds later. "Continue phase 2. Said I looked at Garrett. He looked back at me. Neither of us spoke. Because we were thinking exactly the same thing. Rebecca hadn't created this conspiracy. Someone else had. Someone patient. Someone intelligent. Someone who had remained completely invisible. And whoever, director, was, they had just become my next target. I barely slept that night. But Lily was resting in a private room at the children's hospital, surrounded by nurses who treated her with remarkable kindness. The burns on her arms weren't life-threatening, but the emotional wounds ran far deeper. When I walked into her room the next morning, she was awake. She looked smaller somehow. Fragile. She held her favorite stuffed fox against her chest and stared out the window. When she noticed me, she forced a tiny smile. "Dad." I sat beside her bed and gently held her hand. "I'm here. They can't take me away anymore. Right?" Those words shattered something inside me. An 8-year-old child shouldn't have to ask a question like that. "No," I answered firmly. "Nobody is ever taking you away from me again." For the first time since the nightmare began, she relaxed. A few minutes later, Detective Olivia Grant entered the room carrying a thick evidence folder. "I'm sorry to interrupt," she said softly, "but we've made another discovery." Garrett, who had been working from his laptop in the corner, immediately stood. "What did you find?" "What executed search warrants on Rebecca's financial records?" She placed several documents on the table. 3 months ago, she received multiple payments from shell companies. "How much?" I asked. "Nearly $400,000. Garrett frowned. "That's far too much for a family dispute." Detective Grant nodded. "Exactly. The money came from overseas investment accounts." "Can you identify the owner?" "Not yet." Garrett leaned closer. "What about the account that contacted her as director?" Grant took a deep breath. "What traced the encrypted connection? And it wasn't random." She opened another file. "The same encrypted server has been linked to 3 previous custody fraud investigations in different states." I looked up sharply. "Wes, in every case, one parent suddenly appeared mentally unstable. The children were removed. Large family trusts changed control. And millions of dollars disappeared." The room fell silent. This wasn't just my family. It was an organized operation. Someone had discovered how to manipulate the family court system for profit. Garrett slowly closed his laptop. We're not hunting one criminal anymore. We're hunting a network. That afternoon, I met with the federal investigators. Every piece of evidence pointed toward the same conclusion. Rebecca had never been the mastermind. She had simply been recruited. Someone had studied my military schedule. Someone knew exactly when I would be overseas. Someone understood my home's security systems. Someone had convinced Rebecca that destroying our daughter was the fastest path to unimaginable wealth. The question was, who? Late that evening, Garrett rushed into the hospital waiting room. "I've got something." He connected his laptop to a large monitor. I finally broke part of the encryption. A digital map appeared. Several cities lit up across the United States. Boston, Chicago, Dallas, Seattle, Denver. Each location represented a previous custody case. Each family had one thing in common: large inheritances, private trusts, or valuable business assets. "They're selecting wealthy families," I said, "and using relatives to destroy the legal heirs." Garrett nodded. "It's a business. Children become targets. Parents become suspects. The money changes hands." I felt sick. How many families had already lost everything? Before anyone could answer, Detective Grant's phone rang. She listened for nearly a minute before hanging up. "We've arrested Rebecca's financial advisor." "What did he say?" I asked. "He wants immunity." Garrett folded his arms. "Which means he's scared." Grant nodded. Claims he never met the leader. Only instructions. Always through encrypted messages. But he gave us one important detail. She looked directly at me. "The organization has an internal nickname." "What is it?" "The Inheritance Circle." The name sent chills through the room. A criminal network that treated children like financial obstacles. Detective Grant continued. "Tim, the advisor also confirmed something else." "What?" "Rebecca wasn't their first recruit, and she wouldn't have been their last." That realization hit me harder than anything else. If Lily hadn't survived, another family would have become the next target. Another child, another parent, another carefully planned betrayal. I stood and looked through the hospital window. The sun was setting behind the city skyline. For months, I had believed my mission was to save my daughter, and now I understood the truth. Saving Lily had only been the beginning. Somewhere out there, the people who built this organization still believed they were untouchable. They thought Rebecca's arrest had ended the investigation. They had no idea that every encrypted message, every stolen dollar, every fake identity was leading investigators closer to them. And I made a silent promise as I watched the last light disappear beyond the horizon. I wasn't going to stop after protecting my family. I was going to help destroy the entire network, no matter how long it took, no matter who stood behind it. The real battle was finally about to begin. 6 months passed. For the first time in years, my mornings didn't begin with military briefings or emergency calls. They began with pancakes. Lily insisted on making them every Saturday, even though they were almost always burned around the edges. We'd laugh together as she proudly declared them perfect, and somehow they always tasted better than anything served in a restaurant. The nightmares hadn't disappeared completely. Sometimes she still woke up crying. Sometimes she still flinched whenever someone unexpected knocked on the front door. Healing wasn't something that happened overnight. It happened one day, one conversation, one smile at a time. Our new home in Colorado became a place where fear slowly lost its grip. But while Lily focused on rebuilding her childhood, I had one final mission: destroy the people responsible for trying to steal it. Garrett and I spent months working alongside federal investigators. The financial records Rebecca left behind became the key to everything. Every payment, every encrypted message, every shell company. Piece by piece, the puzzle finally came together. The Inheritance Circle wasn't just a criminal organization. It was an entire business. Lawyers willing to forge documents. Financial advisors willing to hide money. private investigators hired to collect personal information, hackers who monitored wealthy families, even corrupt psychologists willing to fake mental health evaluations for children and parents. Whenever a family possessed millions in trusts, businesses, or inheritance, they became targets. The organization searched for one weak link: a greedy spouse, a jealous sibling, a desperate relative, once recruited. The plan always followed the same pattern: destroy the rightful heir, blame the innocent parent, control the fortune, disappear. They had succeeded several times before. But this time, they had chosen the wrong family. One rainy afternoon, Garrett called me. "I think we found him." My pulse quickened. "Director, I believe so." An international arrest warrant had been issued after investigators linked multiple offshore companies to one man. His real name was Victor Caney, a former financial consultant who had disappeared nearly 10 years earlier after being investigated for organized fraud. Since then, he'd built a hidden network across several countries. No fingerprints, no public photographs, almost no digital history, until now. Garrett smiled for the first time in weeks. He finally made one mistake. Victor had transferred money through an old encrypted server he'd forgotten to abandon. The digital trail was enough. Within 48 hours, international authorities raided several properties connected to his network. Dozens of computers were seized. Thousands of financial records were recovered. More than 80 victims were identified. Millions of dollars were frozen before they could disappear overseas. The headlines spread across the country. Sound ialafidadu netano rk exposidi keldi kaltodi istiamika kolap hesius imelo isa recoverodio afars rahituos. The organization that believed it could never be touched collapsed in less than a week. Rebecca watched everything unfold from prison. Federal prosecutors offered her one final opportunity. Tell the complete truth. She accepted. For days she answered every question investigators asked. She admitted she had been approached after secretly complaining online about our marriage and finances. Someone contacted her anonymously. They promised her wealth, freedom, a luxurious life. All she had to do was make everyone believe Lily was mentally unstable. She confessed to planning every detail: the fake injuries, the rehearsed police statements, the deleted evidence, the attempt to frame me, every lie, every betrayal, every choice. She signed a full confession. When the judge read it in open court, the courtroom became completely silent. Rebecca looked toward me one last time. Tears filled her eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I looked at her calmly. Months earlier, I would have wanted revenge now. I simply felt nothing. Some wounds are too deep for apologies. The judge sentenced Victor Kane and the remaining members of the organization to decades in federal prison. Rebecca's sentence remained unchanged. She would spend many years thinking about the family she willingly destroyed. Justice had finally arrived. A year later, life looked completely different. Lily had started a new school. She made new friends. She laughed more often. One evening we stood together on the porch watching the sunset paint the mountains in shades of orange and gold. She slipped her small hand into mine.
"Dad." "Yeah."
"Are the bad people gone?" I looked across the peaceful valley before answering. "The ones who hurt us can't hurt anyone anymore." She smiled. A real smile. The kind I hadn't seen since before everything happened. Then she hugged me. "I knew you'd come home." Those simple words reminded me of every promise I had ever made, every battle, every sacrifice, every impossible decision. I had spent most of my life protecting strangers around the world. But in the end, the most important mission wasn't overseas. It wasn't classified. It wasn't about medals. It was about one little girl who believed her father would always find a way back. And she was right. Because no matter how impossible the odds seemed, no matter how powerful the enemy became, a father's love is stronger than fear, stronger than betrayal, and stronger than anyone who tries to tear a family apart. That day, as Lily laughed while chasing our golden retriever across the yard, I realized something that every survivor eventually learns. Justice doesn't erase the past, but it gives you the freedom to build a better future. And sometimes, that is the greatest victory of all. Every story leaves behind something more valuable than its ending. Sometimes it's a lesson, and sometimes it's hope, and sometimes it's the reminder that even in our darkest moments, the truth still has the power to win. Looking back now, I realized this was never just a story about betrayal. It was a story about a father refusing to give up. A story about courage when fear seemed overwhelming. A story about choosing love instead of hatred and justice instead of revenge. There were moments when I wanted to believe none of it was real. Moments when I wished I had ignored that notification on my phone, because seeing what happened to Lily became a memory that will stay with me forever. But if I had ignored it, everything could have ended differently. That single decision to look at the camera saved my daughter's life. It exposed lies that had been carefully planned for months. It uncovered a criminal conspiracy driven by greed instead of love. And it proved that no amount of manipulation can permanently hide the truth. Lily taught me something I will never forget. Real strength isn't measured by physical power. It isn't measured by rank, medals, or years of experience. Real strength is standing back up after someone tries to break you. It's finding the courage to trust again, to smile again, to believe in tomorrow even after experiencing your worst nightmare. Watching Lily heal reminded me that scars don't always represent weakness. Sometimes they become proof that we survived. Today she laughs again. She dreams again. She smiles without fear. And every time I hear that laughter, I remember exactly why I fought so hard. Family isn't built only by blood. It's built by love, by sacrifice, by keeping your promises, especially when they're difficult to keep. If someone you love is ever asking for help, listen. If something doesn't feel right, trust your instincts. Sometimes one decision made in a single moment can change an entire lifetime. Justice didn't erase our pain. It didn't erase the memories. But it gave us the opportunity to begin again. And sometimes, a second chance is the greatest gift life can ever give. Thank you so much for spending your time with me and listening to my story. If this story touched your heart, reminded you of the importance of protecting the people you love, or kept you with me until the very end, I truly appreciate your support. Please leave a comment below and let me know what you would have done if you were in my situation. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss more emotional stories just like this one. Thank you again for watching. Take care of yourself, take care of the people you love, and remember, sometimes the strongest heroes aren't the ones who win battles on distant front lines. They're the ones who never stop fighting for their family. See you in the next story.